Well, good day. So for today, I would still like to yammer on about the Fantastic Four, and particularly the Fantastic Four verse from 1967. The episode in question features the first time we see Dr. Doom in this series. So it should be pretty awesome, right? Alright, let's go. Alright. So, we start off with Police Commissioner Robin getting the Fantastic Four together because some horrible thing has happened. What is that horrible thing, you ask? Well, it turns out that the infamous Dr. Doom arrived in the US. And Dr. Doom, being the leader of the country called Latveria, man, he's declared diplomatic immunity. So he can go out and about his business, hassle-free, right? And his hassle-free business is to murder Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four. And really to make the lives of the other members of the Fantastic Four pretty miserable. Those of course would be the Thing, Invisible Girl, and the Human Torch. And so bold is Dr. Doom that he called up Mr. Fantastic and told him that he has this plan to end him and ruin his team. So Commissioner Robin is like,
well, that is highly peculiar. Why does this Dr. Doom hate you so, Mr. Fantastic?
And well, we all sit down for a nice little chit-chat as Mr. Fantastic reminisces about the time he met a young Victor Von Doom at State University. And this young Victor was a pretty crazy guy, man. He would make all these really wild and insane experiments in his dorm room, and not really safe either, as one of his experiments blew up in his face, figuratively and literally, totally disfigured him. And he got expelled from the university where, he naturally blames Mr. Fantastic for that. Because why not, right?
So he's been trying to get his revenge ever since.
And seeing as Mr. Fantastic is in such a chit-chat kind of a mood and, things are pretty casual and hip there, he decides to regale Commissioner Robin with the time he, Reed Richards, got together with his best friend, Ben Grimm, and got two of his other friends, Susan Storm and Johnny Storm, to go up into space to do some space stuff. I don't really know what, but disaster! Unbeknownst to them, their ship got bombarded with cosmic rays. So their spaceship crashed on the Earth and got destroyed, but their quartet of friends who were bombarded with cosmic rays and started noticing that they were getting all these wild and wacky powers, right? Like Reed Richards can stretch really far, Johnny can turn himself on fire, Sue can turn invisible, and Ben turned into some kind of rock man. So right there and then, they decided with these great powers also comes great responsibility, right? Well, they didn't use those words specifically, but they all decided to fight crime and all that kind of stuff. So now we're all caught up. Things are pretty good. But Dr. Doom breaks into the Fantastic Four headquarters with a gun. That was his big plan, was just to bust into the building and shoot Mr. Fantastic. Okay. But seeing as everyone is having a chit-chat fun time, he figures he'd join in on that as well, and he regales everybody of the story of after he left university, he went to go to the Himalayas and learn black magic. And so now that we're all completely caught up with everybody and how they've been doing since school, Mr. Fantastic steals Dr. Doom's gun, to kind of end that. So Dr. Doom is all like, Irma Gerd, and he takes off. Again, right? He steals a rocket from the team and crashes it into New York City accidentally. And you gotta think, my God, man, this has gotta be pretty disastrous, for the people living in the blast zone of this rocket ship crashing and exploding profusely. But the Fantastic Four just laugh it off.
Oh, well, Doom's probably dead.
What a weird episode, man. But, other than that, that is the end of this fantastic tale. And, well, there you go for an action-packed episode in an action cartoon series. Not exactly the kind of episode I would expect, but when you're talking about the origins of the superheroes and the main supervillain, This episode is, maybe not the most action-packed, but it is quite functional, right? It gets the point of the whole origins across, and it has some kind of action thrown in there. It's just kind of funny, you're thinking of an action series and, instead you see people just sit down with some tea and crumpets and talk about the past and how wonderful it all was. Well, not exactly, but pretty much, right? Like, my only real complaint about this episode was Dr. Doom. Like in the comics and stuff like that, if you're reading that as a kid, you're like, wow, this character is so powerful, so dangerous, so intelligent. He has such a presence, and you're always worried about what he's gonna do. Like, he has this elaborate plan to destroy Mr. Fantastic, and it turns out the plan is just to bring a laser gun and shoot the guy, Like, Dr. Doom is so much more dangerous than just a laser gun. He could do so much more. Like, bringing a laser gun, that's so unimaginative. That's something that, like, a street-level punk would do, not like one of the greatest supervillains of all time. So that's really my only complaint, it's still a pretty awesome series. So this is the third episode in the series, and they finally get to the origin of the Fantastic Four, and that makes total sense, right? Because if you're introducing these characters to a new audience on television, you want to just hit the new audience with a lot of action and what these characters can do and really get them, excited about these characters and their powers. And then later on, when they're invested in these characters, then you have a slower episode like this where you can explain things of how they got their powers and all that kind of stuff in a more slow down kind of a story, because the kids are already invested in the characters, so it makes sense. So all in all, still a pretty good episode. Like I say, that one thing, how they treated Dr. Doom, I think you could have made him more dangerous in this episode, but still, 'tis what it is, right? And yeah. But other than that, we got some more behind the scenes stuff and all those kind of things, so let's go check out some of that here. Alright, so this was a pretty fantastic episode that was taken mostly from 2 different issues of the Fantastic Four comic books. And of course it had some filler thrown in there to kind of tie the 2 stories together, and it was okay, for that stuff. But the comic book accuracy, man, it was pretty sweet. So firstly, let's start with the origin of the Fantastic Four. That portion of the story was taken from their debut comic, The Fantastic Four #1 in 1961. And in this episode and in the comic book, you pretty much had the same thing going on there. Our 4 heroes went into space. They got hit with cosmic rays, they got powers and all that kind of stuff. Pretty much the same thing, although there was a small little detail that was kind of different. In the episode, Ben Grimm was wholeheartedly eager to join the space mission. However, in the comics, he was very, very wary about the possibility of being bombarded with cosmic rays, foreshadowing. And basically, Sue Storm had to give him the Marty McFly treatment, call him a coward, and he's like, I'm no coward, I'll show you, But with that, they all went into space, and wouldn't you know it, Ben was right. They got hit with cosmic rays, the ship came crashing down to Earth, the 4 of them learned that they all had these superpowers, and they all decided to use their powers to help mankind. So it's pretty much the exact same story as from the comic, to the cartoon, which is very nice to see. The other origin story, that of Dr. Doom, is pretty much the same from the comics as well. That story took place in Fantastic Four #5 from 1961, which was also Dr. Doom's first appearance. So Dr. Doom's origin in that issue was very, very brief. I think it was only 5 panels long on like 1 page. But the episode was quite consistent with that story, nonetheless, just kind of had it fleshed out a bit more. So the same things, right? Like a young Victor Von Doom at State University. He had really wild experiments in his dorm room that went disastrous and completely disfigured his face. What they did not mention in this episode was that the experiments were about trying to communicate with the nether world. What we learned later was that Von Doom was trying to contact his deceased mother, who had her soul stolen from Mephisto. But other than that, the same things did happen in the episode and the cartoon. Von Doom got injured, he was expelled from the university, and he traveled to Tibet to further his training in black magic and sorcery. So in rereading that that issue, my point from earlier about Dr. Doom being really dangerous and that not really being shown in this episode was kind of highlighted a bit more. Like say in Fantastic Four number 5, he kidnapped Invisible Girl and sent the rest of the team in a time machine back to the past, you know, to the pirate era. Yarr! And in Fantastic Four number 6, he sent the Fantastic Four headquarters into space, really kind of highlighting early how dangerous and resourceful this guy is. So I kind of wish they would have shown a bit more of that in this episode, but meh. As I say, man, c'est la vie, right? Also, at the beginning of the episode, we did see the Fantastic Flare, which is a big number 4 being shot into the sky, so it's kind of a signal for the team to get together and, you know, fight some crime, which, yeah, basically might have some copyright implications for, you know, the bat signal, and Bruce Wayne might sue. But we did see that flare happening in the comics, even in Fantastic Four number 3, where Sue shot it off, I think for the first time. But yeah, so with like all that and all those other things and everything in between, I guess that's that. Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, you know, feel free to do so. Or anything else, you know, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, you know, have a great day. Thanks.